And her
yeah.
Cinderella's
Twin Bob.
Bob, right?
Isn't it Bob? I think it's Bob.
Bob or Dave or something. Are we on?
It's not on. Is it on?
Not yet.
You gonna do this?
We're on.
Okay, we are returned to public session. Thanks for standing by, all that have made it through the long sit in the hallway. Apologies for that. So we'll continue with approval of minutes.
I don't have the minutes here for a particular reason. You may recall back on May 17th, we had a non-public session dealing with an employee matter. And at that time, the employee request was to remain in non-public and wants that information to remain non-public. So we should vote to seal those minutes.
Okay.
Okay, we should have done it during the meeting, but it was my error in processing that we didn't do it. And so now I just want to backtrack and make sure we take that vote to seal the May 17th non-public minutes.
I make a motion to seal the minutes of the May 17th non-public meeting.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have the product of a lot of legal discussions. The transfer restriction agreement.
Yeah, let me back up and give you the background. The voters supported a warrant article by which there were funds taking from our I'm forgetting the name of it.
Open space fund?
Well, Open Space Bond Fund, but then the other fund that we have access to, our Expansion of School Facilities Fund. Thank you very much. And so the warrant article was to combine those two funds to purchase the, what are commonly referred to as the Carpenter properties, and obviously the voters approved it. And then back, I believe it was in early April, Cliff and I had gone to a town council meeting to start the ball rolling to get the proper approvals so that the Open Space Bond Fund monies are actually available for us when it comes time to pass papers on July 12th. And the approvals are for the town council, who are the agents of that fund, to take that vote. So when we came and we made that presentation, the question was raised that is basically this: what if the land is never used to build a school, to enhance school facilities at all, and ultimately the owners, who are the school district, decides to dispose of the land in whatever fashion? Then what happens to that? And their interest was saying, we're using our money, if you will, the town versus school district, to purchase a portion of that land. What happens to our interest? Does that interest continue until you build a school? So they referred it to their attorney, Justin Richardson. I felt entirely appropriate that Peter Bronstein, our attorney, who had done all of the work with this, ought to stay in touch with this development of this document. And what you see before you is, as Cliff had said, the end product of a number of discussions and email communications. And I did send you one in your packet, and this one is slightly different, although in terms of substance it still is really the same. The beginning portion has all of these whereas this, whereas that, and it's really just a statement of the fact pattern. A little bit has been added to that, but again, it's just the fact pattern that goes along with this agreement. And the agreement is basically this, that prior to any action by the school district to dispose of to a third party part or all of these properties, then certain things have to take place. And these are that the school district and town shall then negotiate in good faith to First, identify a portion of the land comprising approximately 28.37% of the total land area to be sold, which the town wishes to have transferred to it for open space, recreation, or other public purposes. 37% is that percentage of the total cost that is being paid for by open space funds. And so then, if you make or the future board makes a determination to dispose of the land to a third party, then the first step is to contact the town. You see in the paragraph up above, give them 60 days notice that this is your intent. And then you enter into discussions of whether the town wants to get 28.37% of that land, and you can negotiate what might be the boundary line. At times, we talked about setting a boundary line now, and we certainly got away from that, thankfully. You know, you may recall on the back side of the Carpenter property, there already is open space land. So the town may have an interest in expanding that by taking a portion. So that's the first step. And B says, in the event that the town responds that it desires to acquire the identified portion thereof, the parties shall negotiate in good faith an agreement to transfer that portion to the town. If such negotiations are not successful, the school district shall proceed to market and sell the property in a commercially reasonable manner. The school district shall cause 28.37% of the net proceeds of such sale to be paid to the town. Doesn't say it here, but one would assume it goes back into their open space fund. And then the rest of it is typical kind of legalese entities that you'd have in an agreement like this, mediating disputes, meeting approval. Let me comment about that. Should either the town or school district be required by statute, ordinance, or regulation to receive authorization in the future to effectuate this agreement, each hereby agrees to place an appropriate warrant article on the next annual meeting. So if a warrant article is necessary to make this all happen, then we agree to do that. There's language here of how this could be amended, notice in writing. The term is next. The term of this agreement is that it's duly signed by the town council and the school district, and thereafter the agreement runs with the land, binding upon successing boards, and so forth, until, or except as follows. Following completion of construction of a public school, which includes the properties as part of the school site, this agreement shall terminate, and the school district shall have no further obligations under this agreement. So you build a school, or you renovate across the street, and you turn that into parking in other lands, agreement's done. B is upon conveyance of the properties or any portion thereof to a third party, bona fide purchaser, this agreement shall no longer apply. So those are the only two ways that the agreement dies. But really, it addresses that portion of their interest in a way that gives them the option, land or money, and it seemed the reasonable way to deal with this. Some might think that by the vote of the voters, it makes it an outright ability of us to use that money, but there was some confusing things out there in state law and different cases that have been settled that made it sense that you need to have an agreement like this. I think it's a very smart move, and I think this addresses the interest of the town council. It's been reviewed by Cliff, it's been reviewed by Phil Nazaro, it's been reviewed by Ed Wojnowski, and our attorneys. So it's presented to you tonight, hopefully for your approval, although that's not absolutely necessary tonight. Town council will be taking it up soon and hopefully putting their approvals on it. We need to get it signed in time such that then the council can take action to authorize release of the funds, which would be the end of the month. So, questions, comments?
Is there, you brought this up, but is there a reason why it doesn't, agreement C, that it doesn't return that percentage of the money back to the open space fund? Why does it just go back to the town?
Well,
That would indicate to me it would go to the general fund.
I'm not sure, well, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure, I'm not sure that the open space bond fund would exist at that time. I think there was even a time limit on it when it was
Yeah.
passed.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
Okay.
wouldn't put that in there because, you know, again, who knows how long this thing could be in effect.
Yeah.
Okay.
There were times when we talked with lawyers about putting a limit of number of years out, but we really don't know the future, and so I don't know that open space bond fund will be there.
Okay, that's fine.
And I would assume that in the spirit of the town would use the monies appropriately.
Appropriately.
Yeah,
One would think, yeah.
I would think so.
Well, that's what our spirit was when we asked for the money, but now we have an agreement that's. Do you have any questions?
No, but just for clarification for people listening out there, so that doesn't, this doesn't in any way change the vote that
Not at all.
occurred? Okay.
We are the owners, and we have sole control of it. This is only if we just never build a school or use it to enhance school facilities, and we decide to dispose of the land to some third party. That's the only time this kicks in.
And if for some reason the town council didn't approve it, would it be back to the drawing board through some legal agreement? When they, because you said that they're gonna be presented with this document again and, or,
Right.
A version of it, or if
right,
it
and they're
changes.
gonna
Yeah.
have to vote one way or the other. I'm sure they're,
You know, it is clearly, you know, again, talking with both the town administrator and the town council chair, this clearly addresses the issue that was raised.
okay.
And
that
so.
should satisfy
should
that.
certainly satisfy
Okay.
town council.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions? All right, then
I'd like to make a motion.
I would encourage that.
I will make a motion to approve the transfer restriction agreement as presented. I'll second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Right.
Okay.
Business Department summer work.
At the bottom of all of your handouts, you see a large drawing. At an earlier meeting, I've given you the list, I gave you just a list of what work was projected to be done, and an estimated cost of $100,000. I was asked to go back and do two things. One, consider going out to bid rather than continuing to use Horn Construction. And then also to look to see if there are ways to break this up and perhaps not do all of these projects for the summer at least, maybe put them off for a period of time. And the answers to both of those are, after I pursued them, one is that it was really in our best interest, for a number of reasons, to continue to use Horn Construction, that this work is really a continuation of what they had already done back in January, February, and March. If we were not to do that, if we were to go out to bid, then we lose time in the bidding process, which is running short for us. We would then have to restart the process at a different point. It wouldn't be just like, as the meeting went today, continuing on where we left off. You'd have to have new contractors brought up to speed. They would have to do their own construction drawings, which would take time. Whereas, I mean, Horn Construction's not gonna pass them on. We don't own them, and so there'd be a lot of startup that would push us well into the summer. The other thing which has been really crucial for us, and we talked about it, there was a meeting today of all of the different people involved, and I'll tell you more about it in a moment, but it was a I won't say a rocky road, but it was rough around the edges as we formed to deal with this, because you had a variety of interests. You had the code enforcement officer and fire department and state fire marshal's office and our own buildings and grounds and us and the school principal. So there were a lot of interests brought to the table that had, and they all had to work smoothly because everybody was feeling pressure by the instance that we were dealing with. And And we worked out all of those pressures and relationships, and we really developed a great scheme of how we documented what was being done. You folks saw the PowerPoints that were done and all the information that was shared with the fire marshal. So there became what grew was a great deal of confidence in the way that we were handling the matter. And we felt to go back out, we would lose all of that and have to restart that. That was really important to us. The other conversation that I had with them around, and I say them, this was with the architect Dan Bisson and Jeff Murphy from SFC Engineering, our fire and life safety advisors and engineers. And again, I was really pushing the issue of trying to chunk this up a bit and not do everything this summer. And they I thought very persuasively pushed back that the work that you see in these drawings in the green and in the yellow, it is work that is areas that are separating from the ceiling. It wasn't as bad as the others, but it clearly is in jeopardy. The wood shop area even was a temporary fix that the fire marshal's office only went along with so that we could get right back to instruction. And it was clearly their intent to get that done in the summer. And so there was a good feeling that if I were to push the issue to ask for a waiver on doing of any of this stuff, then I'd really lose some support from the fire marshal, and I'd probably never have a chance to work cooperatively, or at least get a waiver in the future. So it all made sense to me today. So it made sense to me when we talked about this, and so I did give the go-ahead. And so Horn has been working to design these plans with our folks. We'll be using the same contractors that we used before, so there's a great familiarity with our building. Today, again, all those interests that I talked about was there at the building today, and we walked the building and talked about the work to be done and how we do it and schedule it. A couple things that I thought came out of it. I think because the school is unoccupied to a great extent, and also because they reached a decision that they would not have to turn off the sprinkler system. If you have to turn off, in the past we had to turn the sprinkler system off, drain the system, and then do the work and then put it back together, and there's a big expense to that. And so there was an agreement today that we weren't going to have to do that in this instance. So I felt that because of those two things, that $100,000 estimate to me is moving in the right direction for us. So that's how today's meeting went. So what you see here are the three phases. What's in the yellow, the bathroom and a janitorial storage area on the second floor would need to be addressed. They're going to start on that Monday, June 18th, right after the school year ends. And they figure they'll finish somewhere around July 4th. So then the upstairs beyond that, they did a number of tests, and the upstairs beyond that got a clean bill of health. So there's nothing else upstairs to deal with. And then downstairs in the green, those are two hallway areas that we really couldn't address when we worked last winter, spring. It needed work. It wasn't quite as bad as the others, but it really would have diminished our access to the building had we blocked off those corridors. And so they realized that they were going to have to push that forward to the summer. And then the wood shop, again, the ceiling that was put there was really a short-term temporary fix. And so it's a matter now of moving all of that equipment out of there, taking the ceiling completely down, and putting a more permanent resolution up. And should all be completed by the time school opens. And we've done sequencing here that allows summer school to operate, allows custodians to follow their typical scheme in cleaning and getting the building ready. And it may only be in the last week that it's going to be a little tough to finish up, but that's how we see it going. I wanted to report that through you. Again, the hard part is when we get down to the money. Obviously, it's not something that's budgeted. Joan and I have talked, we really see that the monies that were approved at the last district meeting in that dual-purpose fund, that's the only resource we have to go to. We have hardly anything left in the school facilities maintenance fund.
Well, you
So-
won't after,
we
we have
won't.
to, next meeting, we have to transfer,
Some in,
yeah,
yeah,
from the original repairs in
right,
December.
right.
February.
But there is some news, you know, again, so you say, let's say you're looking at an $80,000 to $100,000 expense out of that. There is some new money that Joan can tell you about that doesn't pay for this, but is going to come in, that's going to restore some money to our ability to design and do the design work and other things dealing with a new school, so.
Matt Angel came over to visit me last week. We had talked once, perhaps in April, about impact fees and our access to impact fees. And he came over the other day and said, currently, we have $62,560 available to be spent for the school impact fees, which can be used by, to do design and development work. It has been done in the past. In 2007, I think there was $150,000 that the school district used. So he's anxious to have us, I believe, go forward and I think have a motion through the school board to then go to the town council. And I think I pulled the information out from 2007. It looks like they have to have a resolution for the town council to approve it. But impact fees are expiring. So if you don't use the impact fees, they go back to the original property owner, or they go back to the property owner. I wouldn't say original, I'm not quite sure of that. So his thought was that we should go to the town council and apply for that or request that through the process they use, and that could then offset costs we've already used, because I have to prove to them what we've spent it on, so I'd have to have copies of invoices, and that money, which we originally used for our architectural engineering studies of the new school and what we've been doing all year, could then be paid for with impact fees, and then we would free up money to pay for a portion. It wouldn't be the whole thing, but a portion of the repairs. So you wouldn't have to tap that $700 and something thousand that you put into that fund. You wouldn't have to tap it for the whole
Perhaps.
thing,
Yeah,
Just for 40 or something.
whatever the balance might
Yeah.
be.
see how it all
Just
shakes out.
40.
So right now, you know, this was kind of a report generated maybe around May 25th. It was $62,560, but he would have the May report come in from the bank to tell us what interest has been earned, and you know, it's probably going to fluctuate right up until the end. But
Mhm.
I think you probably just have to have a hard figure. The most important thing is that almost $4,000 of it is going to expire at the end of June. So that would be off the table, so it would be 62 minus 4, so.
It's fair to say that all the things in this report, though, fall under fire and life safety.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, so it's not like
There's no question.
It's not like we're spending the money the town gave us in an inappropriate way. It's definitely,
Not at all, no question.
okay.
Right, and just so you know, the impact fees would be paid for the design of the new building, those fees.
Can you explain impact, what does that mean exactly?
I probably won't do it very, yeah, you try.
Right.
Thank you.
When there's new construction, residences and whatnot in town, we have an impact fee program that the town runs, and so there is an assessment to that residence that has to be paid. Now, I'm not really certain whether it's by the I think it's by the builder, and that has to be paid to the town, and it goes into a fund. And I believe there's some method of apportioning it towards town interests and school interests. And the concept is that those residences may have an impact on town services or school services, and so that's what that money is there for. It's there for a period of time, though. There's a clock that runs. Did you say what it is? Is it, I want to say it's 6 years, but there's
I think it's 6 years.
there's a time period, and after which that time period, if you do not use that money, or the town doesn't use that money, it's to be returned to the owners of the property for which it was paid on. And even if the house is sold from original to another owner. It goes back to that property. So, so we're reaching a point where some of that does get paid back, and so that's.
It
That's
looks like it
basically
was
how it works.
established in 2001, and there's a portion for the schools, a portion for the rec department, wastewater, water. So it was, it's about, if they had to tax on infrastructure or,
Yeah.
and bigger recreation programs or whatever, and then, of course, overcrowding in the schools.
And there's no specific requirement how we spend that money? It's not,
It has to be
There is.
to expand facilities.
okay, all right. So that's why that money would go to a newer school or renovation or whatever.
Some years ago, I think.
Plans, studies.
I think 2007, I believe.
Yep.
I think the district sought and got around 159,000,
Yep.
something like that, out of impact fees that was used to pay for some of the design work for the projects they were looking at
Okay.
then.
So, are you looking for board action?
I think you
Probably a
should,
good
I think
idea.
you should,
I
you know.
can't find that you had a vote on it
Yeah.
before, but I think I did find minutes from a 2007 board meeting where you must have had town council as part of your reports. They used to give reports, it seems like anyways, and it says that you must have gone to them and asked for approval of the monies, and then they came back and reported that, yes, the council did approve it and whatever. So I would think that you'd need a motion, but I don't have a specific number, although I will say, even if you just did 60,000 at this point, or 62, I have 62,560 on here, I mean,
Couldn't we?
that money would stay in there if you
Couldn't we
didn't.
just say, all impact fees available? And leave it as
Oh, we
generic?
probably could, I don't know.
Yeah. And when we talked today, I talked about, 62,560 plus interest, but you're right, you could say it that way too, without question.
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question before we make a
Sure.
motion? Are we guaranteed that money by the town council? Does the town council need to take a vote and approve the release of those funds? I mean, would there be a potential that
Yeah.
they
It's a
may
resolution.
not?
It'd have to have.
Well, when I went back through this folder, there's a legal advisory from, I don't remember the attorney's name, that says what you can use it for. I don't think that they can deny it, as long as you
Okay.
can prove. When I went back through Sue's stuff, she had copies of invoices, and they were all design services, copies of the checks that we sent them, the stubs of the checks to prove that it's already been paid, it's already been used for that, it's specific to the expansion of school facilities. We have plenty of expenses to be able to document $62,000 worth. So I don't know if there's a way that they could deny it, but it went back as far as appraisals. So the appraisals that were done were a part of the money. Surveying, wetland investigations, legal services, developing purchase and sale agreements. And we have those legal bills have hit our operating budget this year.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that, we wouldn't have no trouble. I don't think there's a way for them to deny it, as long as we prove that those expenses were.
Certainly in the spirit of the impact fee. Is-
Yeah, absolutely, it's in line.
That's
Right,
what it was
yeah.
for.
Mhm, That's what it's for.
Okay.
So, Linda, were you about to make a motion?
Wing it. I would like to make a motion to allow, to direct
Direct the
the
superintendent or the school board
superintendent.
chair or whatever.
Here, you say it.
I'm giving you some words.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I will make a motion to direct the superintendent to approach the town council to release all impact fees available to the school district to help defray the costs of expansion of school expenses that we have incurred over the year.
I'll second.
Further discussion?
Now, I'm a little concerned over the expansion of school, because we're not going to be expanding the school. We can use it for the design of a new
It's in
school.
design work, for what we've been doing, design work for a new school, and right now, design work for renovation addition. It's, again, the impact is interpreted as expansion of your school facilities.
We haven't expanded our school facility.
No, but it's
not-
in
Well-
preparation
Oh,
for,
In case, in other words, if you're going you're gonna renovate, expand the old building, that could be used for that.
Yeah,
All the engineering
Or
and
for a
Any
new
engineering.
building. Okay.
surveying and legal work, all that's legitimate.
Yeah, so all of those expenses that we have incurred over this past year that, that relate to renovation expansion.
If you change, if you're putting, if you're remodeling the ceiling, that's not an expansion.
Right.
No,
We're not doing-
exactly.
That's not an impact.
But we're talking about all of the legal work that has been done to
Design.
purchase the land.
The carpenter, all the surveys
all
that were
those-
done.
All the survey work,
That.
the, yeah, all of the design, architectural designs and things like that, that's for expansion. All of the, the testing of the land, et cetera, the surveying
I
of the
think the
land.
confusion is that
Yeah.
Jim's talking about the $100,000 we need to do the work, and we don't really
Yeah,
have the money.
that's not-
So we're trying to free up money by using the impact fees to pay for the design work. That would free up some
That
of
would be
money.
separate from this stuff right here.
The way, I was on the planning board when we introduced all this. And the way I took it was the fact is that it's an impact on the community, in the school, for example. Okay, if you build a group of homes and they have more children going to school, then you have an impact on the school.
Right.
So that's an impact fee. But you have to have that to be an impact on the school. It doesn't, because they have 6 children going into the school, that's an impact. It may not be an impact. That's what I'm saying. I'm not so
They've already
sure.
determined, the town's already determined
Right.
the
It said-
percentage.
I have I have a letter here from Bruce Mayberry, I don't know who he is, planning consultant,
Yes.
who was asked for an opinion. It says, the capital improvement costs cited by the district, and it lists, what they were, for which impact fee reimbursement has been requested, include expenditures related to various costs, including site review and acquisition cost studies, appraisals, blah, 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 relating to development of a new school. One of the major expenditures was a study by Team Design to evaluate facility needs. While no physical expansion of schools has yet occurred, as a result of these efforts, pre-development costs constitute a part of the overall capital cost and a necessary prerequisite for school construction. Presumably, future school construction will be based on rectifying existing space deficiency, but it would also provide allowances for future growth and enrollment. So, he says, my view is that recoupment of these pre-development costs through impact fees is consistent with the original basis of the school impact fee assessment.
Now, what if we don't build a new school and we take the impact fee?
Yeah, but we still
We've
did
already
all-
done
we
the
did
designs.
studies,
We've already done the
designs.
design.
But you don't have an impact, that's what I'm saying.
Well,
Those
Well-
people moved into the town,
You can't,
but it's part of, it's just part of them moving here. It's just,
because we had to pay some money back on, if I remember right, back 3-4 years ago, where we had collected impact fee, and we didn't move on it because it wasn't an impact. We had to pay them back their money.
Yeah, they did pay $50,000
Yeah.
back, but to the open space bond. All I'm saying is that Matt came over to me, the interim consultant that's the town finance person right now, and said, your impact fees are expiring. They're gonna be returned to the
All right.
property owners, and you can use these monies, and he had all that information, you can use these monies to offset your costs for design services.
Yeah.
And Bruce Mayberry, just to clarify, he's
Yeah.
a consultant that was hired by the town
Yeah.
to examine
The use.
whether to continue the impact fee program.
Right.
Do we really want to continue down that road? And so
Right.
that's part of where that report came.
There's been more cost stewardship, the whole thing, it is
Yeah, I don't know that,
worthy.
yeah.
But I'll go along with it.
further discussion?
That's good questions.
Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed? Okay, and so we kind of wrapped the impact fee money around the discussion with the ceilings, which made it a
Yeah,
little bit
I'm
cloudy,
sorry I
but
Yeah.
did that, I confused
We're-
it for you, yeah.
we're pursuing, we're moving forward
We're
with
moving
this,
forward
as
to
you
have that work
mentioned,
done, right, and they're starting right after,
Right after school gets out.
right after, the Monday after school
And
gets
it's
out.
regardless of the impact fees, because we do have that money
It is.
budgeted.
Right,
Right.
To continue fire
To
and
me-
life safety. I mean, it wasn't something that we planned on.
softens the blow a little bit,
Right.
that's how I looked at it, that's why I said it that way,
Okay.
all right?
Next, we have a series of nominations, which I've managed to scramble into my paperwork pretty well.
First nomination, you've already actually voted on this in non-public, but I really thought it's appropriate to do it publicly. And that is that to approve the nomination of Thomas Higginbotham to be the next principal of the elementary school.
I make a motion to accept the nomination of Thomas Higginbotham for elementary school principal.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
No, very excited.
Agreed. Hearing no further comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. The next nomination, recommend the board's approval of Christine Bluen to be the new business administrator.
I will make a motion to accept the nomination of Christine Bluen as our new business administrator.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? I feel like I need to make a couple of comments. I know that there are some in the community that are excited about the prospect of doing cooperative things. This is the Efficiencies Committee effort to find ways to combine resources, and this was one idea that's been kind of knocked around a little bit, to have one person that fills the role both in the town finance office as well as the school district. And I think I'd be remiss just to just let the nomination go by without discussing it a little bit. There was an Efficiencies Committee meeting last night, and I stated part of my reasons at that point. I don't have a prepared statement regarding it, but I guess I'd just like to highlight a couple things, reasons why I feel that it's important that we fill this position as soon as we can. And I'd be curious to hear other people's input if they chose to. I guess first off, from 30,000 feet, it looks like a great idea, and given the right time, I think we can probably make it work, but it's not the right time, in my opinion. One is that the school district operates on a calendar where it's hires need to be made. As we've got some principal, for example, and business administrator. They're kind of heavy hitter positions. If you don't get those positions filled, and then sometimes we're talking about some special ed positions that are very hard to fill. This time of year, you go without. You have to hire a contractor, and we're in a situation where not only is our business administrator leaving, but two other folks in the business office, which is really the business office entirely. I don't see the opportunity that it makes a lot of sense to have an interim that isn't looking towards the long range to be responsible for kind of rebuilding that office. So that's part of it. I think if we're going to pursue the idea, we need to continue to talk about it, certainly, and work on perhaps outlining a job description and how the roles would be the same or different, and is this adding another layer, or is this somehow divvying up current responsibilities? And I'd rather not debate the merits of all these things now, but I just wanted to get them out there. I guess largely, rather than itemize, well, I guess I will a little bit. We've got contract negotiations, we've got potential for a renovation or building project, new software going online. Maybe you'll call those excuses, but those are some things on the school side, but also the town has arguably reasons why you'd say that they are not in a kind of maintenance of status quo in their office as well, where they're looking for a finance director and a town administrator. So for those reasons, I think it's critical that we find the right person, and that means we need to act quickly, and I'm excited that we've identified a candidate of the quality that we have, which is why I'm supporting filling the position and filling the position with this individual.
Very well said.
Anyone else want to speak their piece on that matter?
I'll add a couple comments. I'm a new member to the Efficiencies Committee. I think I've attended one meeting so far. But my understanding so far is that we're in the infancy of those discussions, of seeing what's doable for combining services, possible positions. So I feel that if we were to jump into this at this point, that we would be really remiss as a school board if we haven't had the opportunity to have an objective analysis of the pros and cons of having one person facilitate this huge job that I know that Joan does, and I have no idea the responsibilities for the town side, but I just don't feel like we have enough information to weigh whether that's a good or a bad decision at this point. And if we jump into something without really concrete information, and we really could potentially risk catastrophic financial or political implications if we don't have that information for good, solid decision-making. So I'm in support of this position as well.
Thank you. Other comments? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we've got a couple.
Couple teacher nominations. As you recall, we have a retirement in the consumer science area at the junior senior high school, and so we are bringing forward a nomination of Nancy Castellan to be the new consumer science teacher at that school. Nancy comes with a great deal of experience. I think we're incredibly fortunate to get someone of her background and skills. Comes out of Trape Academy in Kittery, where they made the decision to no longer have that part of their program.
Oh, wow.
So we're fortunate. I think we value that program, and we'll value the skills she brings to us.
I'll make a motion to accept the nomination of Nancy Castellan, is that what you said? As family consumer science teacher at the junior senior high school.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? I'm surprised that that's an option for Kittery to not have that program. But,
It's an academy, so maybe it's a private, is it private?
It isn't private. I think at one time it was, but now I think it
okay.
is their public
What does that
school.
mean? Yeah.
I don't know what allows them to do that. I know, I will tell you from my perspective, back when I was principal at Melrose High School, and a lot of the new standards movement was going and so forth, there were a lot of schools that got rid of consumer science courses, got rid of industrial arts courses, and I wasn't one of them, but I know I was in the minority of schools that did that. So there are schools who don't see that necessarily as part of their mission, and I think we clearly do. I think it provides a niche for some kids. It keeps kids in school and gives them a well-rounded education. So.
And in the notes that were provided, I see that that she has a gift for engaging kids from a lot of different backgrounds.
Yes,
So
without a doubt.
that's wonderful.
And if you were to look at her resume, she was also a real leader in a variety of ways in her school, chairmanship of committees and very active leader within the school setting.
Other comments?
No, that's great.
Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
The last nomination is for Shannon McSpirit to fill a fourth grade leave of absence. We have a leave of absence there for the remainder for the entire school year next year. Shannon's an experienced teacher at the elementary level, teaches a 5-6 multi-age classroom in Marlow, New Hampshire, and I won't go through it all, but a very interesting, tiny school, and so she really is looking to expand her abilities and coming to obviously a larger school, working with a team of teachers. She's the only 5/6 teacher in that school, and so we're happy to have her join us.
I'd like to make a motion.
I make a motion to accept the nomination of Shannon McSpirit for fourth grade maternity leave. Oh, no, sorry,
One-year
fourth grade leave of absence.
Leave of
Sorry about that.
absence. That's all I have.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we have a manifest.
We do. I would like to make a motion to accept the total of all manifests in the amount of $733,861.54.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, is there, Jim, I see you, oh, you're working on
I'm busy.
non-public.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, we had some non-public business earlier that is still incomplete, so we're gonna go back if the board so chooses. So I'd entertain a motion to go on to non-public under RSA 91A, :3, Roman numeral 2,
See.
paragraph C.
So moved.
I'll second that.
All right, Linda.
One of us.
Chet. Cliff Chase,
Aye.
Meg Looney Moore,
Aye.
Kelly Foster,
Aye.
Chet Jablonski,
Aye.
Linda McCartney.
Aye.
Okay, at 9:01.